like somebody else might say in response, blah, 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 but they're wrong because. Or another thing which is allowed, what you could say is, like, here's reason 1, here's reason 2, here's reason 3. Now, one thing that I do think is potentially a problem, and I haven't quite figured out what to think about it yet, is this. But I don't necessarily think that offsets reasons 1, 2, and 3. So you can absolutely bring in a counterclaim to respond to it, or you can just cite, like, here's an interesting thing which I don't quite know what to do with. That's the other thing with these papers is I need you to prove to me that you can think critically, not that at the end there's a black and white answer. So if at the end you've come to the conclusion that MTI should exist as long as there are new regulations put in place, but you're not quite sure what they are yet, that's okay. You can prove that you understand something without coming down hard on one side or the other. Just in the same way, like you can come down hard on one side without actually proving to me that you fully understood it and laid it out clearly. Next class we'll talk a bit more about what I call signposts and roadmaps and things like that, which are basically when you have readings or reasons and you're turning like an intro paragraph into a whole paper, it's useful to guide your audience along with you, like this is what I'm doing first. Now this is what I'll do second. And then once you started the paper, you say, I'm now doing this, and here's why, reminder. And we'll talk more about those details next time. But generally, these, in terms of for next time, the main things you should look for and to think about is which prompt do you want to write on, and what is your thesis going to be about that prompt, and then what are some of the reasons you're going to give. And just the main thing to think about is when you're giving that reason, like what exactly are you saying or arguing? So for instance, if it's something along the lines of MTI violates privacy, think, well, what would I need to do to prove that? One thing you'll probably want to do is like define privacy. Another thing you'll want to do is explain why this violates it, etc. Just think about those sorts of things. And the thing you hand in, I basically just need the fact that like MTI would be wrong because it violates privacy and yada yada and yada yada. It's just going to be like, you know, anywhere between, I mean, I guess the shortest you could probably get by with would be 3 sentences, or, as I said before, if you can make it clear in 1 sentence. But basically, I just need a nice, clean statement of thesis. And another way of making sure, and the reason that I want to talk about theses in a class on its own, is that one of the things about a thesis is it should never be unclear to me what your thesis is by the end of the first page. I should be able to point on your paper and say, that's your thesis, that's what you're arguing for. You don't want to hide it or anything like that. So practicing by just writing it right at the front will allow us to make sure that we're all on board with this. All right, my voice is shot. You all refused to engage in my very fun stretching game. So that means you're all zoning out on me.
So we can pick any topic.
Any of those 3 topics that I sent the prompt of. Also, thank you for bringing this up. If you read all those prompts and you're like, I don't care about any of these, but I've got this other thing I think is really cool and I want to write about, shoot me an email and we can help you write a prompt all your own. The main purpose, the reason why I give you these prompts is because they're about 3 to 5 pages to answer them well, and I have an idea of what sorts of reasons I think would be good ones, and I kind of tried to include them in there. And also, here's another thing about this. I'm just going to shut this off because now we're just talking business.